Have you ever had that flash of brilliance, a fantastic idea?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe it's a creative thing or a new habit you just know is going to be life-changing, or even like a business idea.
Mm.
You get that huge burst of motivation. Maybe you even start, buy the stuff, write the first few lines, clear off the debt.
Yeah, you take that first step.
And then,
Yeah.
well, then it just kind of stops, dead in its tracks.
Oh, yeah. The project just sits there.
Exactly. Unfinished. Sort of a nagging reminder in the back of your mind, isn't it? Why does that happen? What actually gets in the way of turning that initial intention into reality?
It's incredibly frustrating, and you're right, it's super common. That gap between meaning to do something and actually seeing it through.
Yeah.
And like the source material we're looking at today points out, it's usually not because you lack the skill or even the initial desire. Something intercepts us.
Okay, so let's dig into this. We're doing a deep dive today on the art and the science of actually finishing what you start.
Mm-hmm.
We're drawing a lot from Peter Holland's work on this. We'll explore what following through really means, why it feels so hard sometimes.
Yeah, why it's such a struggle.
Exactly. And crucially, look at some practical ways, habits and mindsets to help us get things over the finish line.
You're now entering deep dialogues, where real conversations spark real insight.
Two minds, one idea at a time.
Let's go deeper.
So when we say following through, are we just talking about, like, pure willpower? Is it just about not being lazy?
Well, the source is pretty clear. It's more complex than that. Following through is defined as making your intentions real, actually doing the thing.
Right.
It's about breaking that really frustrating loop of starting with loads of energy and then just abandoning it when it gets tough.
When you get tired or bored or just busy.
Exactly. Fatigue, boredom, distractions. The source uses this great example of an unfinished wooden canoe, started with enthusiasm.
Ah, I remember reading that.
But then, hands got sore, movies looked more appealing, and it just sat there.
Yeah.
For years, a literal monument to good intentions gone sideways.
A very visible failure to launch, yeah.
Precisely. And this ability, following through, is not just one thing. The source breaks it down like a big robot made of smaller bits. Voltron Power Rangers, that kind of idea.
Huh. Okay, I like that. A Voltron of finishing. So what are the parts? What's the head?
Okay, first up, the head is focus. This is about keeping your attention locked on the goal. Eyes on the prize.
Got it.
It's about guiding your thoughts, your actions, toward one main objective. Not just effort, but concentrated effort on what really matters for that specific goal. Without focus, you're scattered. Like Est the source wanting to start a business, but her free time was just leisure, no direction.
Right, just drifting. Okay, so focus directs the energy. What holds it all together? The spine.
That's the spine, self-discipline. This is that core ability to control yourself, to, just get your head down and work, even when you really don't feel like.
Ugh, the hard part.
Definitely. Resisting those temptations, those distractions. Like spine gives physical structure, discipline gives mental and behavioral structure, and the source stresses that focus and discipline, they're really linked. They feed each other.
Okay, that makes sense. Strong focus helps discipline. Discipline helps focus.
Exactly. If Esther had built some discipline around how she used her free time, she could have pushed past that initial inertia.
Right. Okay, head is focus, spine is discipline. What about the parts that actually do stuff?
The hands and feet. Action. This is all about execution. Simple motion. Taking that intention, which is backed by focus and discipline, and turning it into actual movement. Real-world stuff.
The visible part, the part you can measure.
Yes. Plans are great, goals are great, but they stay abstract until you take action. If Esther had just done one small thing each week for her business idea,
Yeah.
maybe research one competitor.
She would have started moving.
Exactly. Turning intention into reality step by step.
Okay, the actual doing. And the last piece, what gives it staying power? Endurance.
That would be the heart. Persistence. This is that firm commitment to stick with something over the long haul, through the obstacles, the distractions, the setbacks.
Because big goals aren't usually quick wins.
Almost never. They're marathons, not sprints. Persistence is having the tenacity, the heart to actually finish that marathon, to keep going when it gets tough.
Okay. Focus, self-discipline, action, persistence. That's the Voltron. But if we know the parts, why is it still so incredibly difficult? Feels like we're constantly tripping ourselves up.
And the source says, yeah, we often are. It emphasizes it's usually not about lacking ability or smarts. The reasons we fail, generally fall into two big buckets.
Okay, let's unpack those buckets. What's the first one?
The first is inhibiting tactics. These are basically the ways we consciously, or maybe subconsciously, misuse our time and effort. It's like active self-sabotage.
Setting yourself up to fail right from the get-go.
Pretty much. Like setting bad goals. If your goal is super vague, like be healthier, well, what does that even mean? What do you do?
No clear action steps.
Right. Or if it's clearly impossible, like double my output with 0 extra resources.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you an out, doesn't it? You can tell yourself it was doomed from the start. It's like using a totally wrong map.
And the all-time classic tactic, procrastination.
Ah, yes. Our favorite weapon of self-defeat. We are absolute masters at pushing things off until the last second.
Guilty as charged.
And sometimes, the source points out, we do productive procrastination. We convince ourselves we're making progress by, endlessly planning or doing easy related tasks instead of the main hard thing.
Oh yeah, organizing your desk instead of writing the report.
Exactly. It feels busy, but it just creates this chain of later that eventually becomes never. The example of Madeline delaying her coding project that led to sloppy work, bad review, classic procrastination fallout.
And today's world just throws temptations and distractions at us constantly. My phone buzzes, email notifications, social media. It never stops.
And those things, especially the digital ones, give us these little hits of dopamine, these feel-good chemicals that yank our focus away. The marketing officer scrolling Instagram instead of prepping our campaign. We can't just wish distractions away, but we need strategies for dealing with them, like strategic avoidance logout, or planned moderate-use scheduled breaks, focused work blocks.
Because if you don't manage them, it spirals into poor time management, that feeling of too much to do, not enough time.
But as the source rightly says, it's usually not about the number of hours in the day, it's how productively we use them. And with tech blurring the lines between work and life now, it's even harder. If you can't manage your day-to-day flow, tackling big projects becomes almost impossible.
Okay, so those are the active ways we shoot ourselves in the foot. What's the second big category of blockers?
That would be the psychological roadblocks. These are more internal, often unconscious ways we kind of ironically try to protect ourselves, but end up stopping ourselves from following through.
Like maybe the most basic one, laziness and lack of discipline.
It sounds simple,
Right.
but yeah, it's a huge barrier. It's that internal friction, that resistance to just starting or keeping going when the effort feels like too much or the reward is too far off. Willpower is like the energy, maybe, but discipline is the focus, the direction for that energy. If you lack that internal steer, you just stay put.
And connected to that, I imagine, is fear. Fear of judgment, rejection, failure.
Oh, absolutely. It can be totally immobilizing. The source mentions Lara, terrified to pitch her fundraising idea.
Right.
Fear whispers in your ear, you can't do it, or it's going to blow up in your face so you don't even try. Result, total stagnation. Nothing happens.
I definitely recognize perfectionism too. That comes from insecurities, setting the bar so possibly high that you never even start because you know it won't be perfect.
Exactly. It's a defense mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't finish it. No one can criticize it for being flawed, but it kills action, kills learning. And finally, a really big one the source highlights is lack of self-awareness. Just not realizing that we're actively dodging the important stuff. We keep busy with, little bits and bobs, feeling productive.
But not actually moving the needle on the big goals.
Precisely. Busy, but not effective.
Wow. It really is a whole constellation of things working against us, inside and out. So how do we push back? How do we actually build that follow-through muscle?
Well, it has to start with understanding motivation. Passion is great, but it often fades. Remember Sally's foundation. Initial excitement waned.
Right.
You need something deeper. A drive connected to what the task means to you, the good stuff you'll get from finishing it, and maybe even the negative things you'll avoid.
Are all types of motivation equally effective?
The source makes a key distinction between internal and external motivators. External ones use outside factors. Think accountability partners, putting money on the line, or even self-bribery.
Self-bribery. Tell me more.
Remember the canoe. The thing that finally got it finished was bundling the unpleasant sanding with listening to favorite albums. An external reward tied directly to the task.
Ah, okay. So linking something you have to do with something you want to do.
Exactly. Avoiding pain, like social shame or guilt if you don't deliver, is another powerful external driver. These work well when you're motivated by fear or avoiding really bad outcomes.
Got it. So using external carrots and sticks, what about internal motivation?
Internal motivators often give you more lasting power. These come from what you genuinely want. how finishing this thing will improve your life, align with your values, meet your needs.
So it's more deeply rooted.
Generally, yes. They're less dependent on outside factors. Reminding yourself constantly why you started in the first place, how even the annoying steps fit into the big picture that taps into that internal wellspring.
But any big project requires giving something up, right? Time, effort, maybe money. There's always an opportunity cost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every choice means not choosing something else. Learning guitar means less TD time. If the perceived cost of doing the thing feels higher than the benefit, you just won't do it.
Makes sense.
So the source suggests two approaches here. Either pump up the benefit, make the why so compelling it dwarfs the sacrifice, like the dream job is worth the extra study hours, or minimize the sacrifice, make the process less painful, maybe compromise instead of total sacrifice. You need that internal cost-benefit scale to tip heavily towards the benefit side.
And even if the motivation is strong, it's easy to forget it in the daily grind.
Which is why you have to keep motivation visible. Seriously, out of sight, out of mind. Use constant reminders. Post-it notes, pictures, objects related to the goal.
Like tying a string around your finger, but maybe more sophisticated.
Kind of. The source mentions a study with an elephant statue. People remembered to do a task more often if this unusual statue was nearby. A distinct visual cue. So make your reminders stand out, use different senses, maybe change them occasionally so they don't just blend into the background.
Okay, so motivation is key. Keeping it visible helps. What about structure? The source mentions something like a personal rule book.
Yes, creating a manifesto, a personal set of rules. This is really powerful because it takes the decision-making burden off you in the moment.
How so?
When you hit a choice point, do I work on the project or watch TV? Instead of debating internally, the rule makes the choice automatic. It kind of ties your hands so finishing becomes the default path. Think of John the writer struggling after work. A rule like write 2 chapters every night, period, removes that nightly negotiation.
I like that. Takes the willpower out of the equation a bit. Can you give us some examples of rules the source suggests for this manifesto?
Sure. Rule 1, evaluate yourself. When you feel resistance, stop and ask, is this laziness talking or is it fear? Force yourself to name the barrier. It kind of kicks you in the butt by making you face it.
Okay, brutal honesty. What else?
Rule 2, 3 tasks maximum per day. This forces focus on what's truly important, not just urgent. Plan them the night before. And crucially, single task these items, no multitasking. This stops overwhelm and separates real progress from just being busy.
Limit the scope. Got it.
Rule 3, create limitations and requirements. These are specific boundaries. Write them down, post them up, like no more than 1 hour of TV on weeknights or must read 30 pages related to my field. They become building blocks for habits.
Concrete actions.
Rule 4, reaffirm intentions. When you're tempted, consciously state your goal and the required action. I want the certification. I will study for 1 hour tonight. I won't scroll social media instead. Repetition reinforces the commitment.
Remind yourself what's at stake.
Rule 5, think 10, 10, 10. Before you give in or give up, ask, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days? This connects your impulse now to your future self's feelings. Really powerful for perspective.
Oh, that's a good one. Bridges the gap between present me and future me.
Exactly. And rule 6, just 10 minutes, feeling tempted. Wait 10 minutes before indulging, feeling like quitting something good for you. Do it for just 10 more minutes. It builds impulse control, and often just starting for 10 minutes breaks the inertia.
Getting over that initial hump. Okay, these rules offer a practical framework. What about the mental side? The source talks about specific follow-through mindsets.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that this is largely a mental game. Mindset 1, it's all worthwhile. Believing that the effort leads to improvement, that you are capable, and importantly, that what you're doing is valuable and directly connected to your big goals. Seeing how that one boring task fits into the larger picture.
Connecting the dots.
Mindset 2, get comfortable with discomfort. Look, success usually involves change, and change is often uncomfortable. If you avoid discomfort, feeling tired, nervous, like Gerald, avoiding investment risks, you're basically avoiding success. You have to expose yourself. Discomfort is usually temporary and gets easier.
Embrace the suck, basically.
In a way, yes. Mindset 3, allow learning. See finishing not just as pass-fail, but as learning. Giving up is failure. Finishing, even imperfectly, means you learned something. What worked, what didn't, you gained skills. Frame challenges as quests for knowledge. What can I learn here?
Shift from judgment to curiosity.
Precisely. And mindset 4, de-stress. Stress, negative emotions, they drain your willpower reserves fast. So prioritizing things that recharge you, relaxation, exercise, social connection, isn't fluff, it's essential maintenance. Also, watch out for projection biases, assuming future you will feel as tired or stressed as current you. Don't let temporary feelings derail long-term plans.
That's a lot to manage internally. Let's talk about the beast. Procrastination. How does the source suggest we specifically smash procrastination?
Procrastination. It's so human, isn't it? Like Sisyphus and his rock. The root cause is oftentimes inconsistency. Your present self wants the immediate reward, the nap, the YouTube video.
Guilty.
While your future self wants the long-term goal, the finished project, the fitness level. They're constantly at odds.
The eternal battle. So how do we help future me win?
One really effective technique is temptation bundling, from Katie Milkman's research. You strategically pair something you should do but avoid with something you love to do but maybe feel guilty about.
Like
Only letting yourself listen to your favorite podcast while you're exercising, or only watching that trashy TV show while you fold laundry. You give your present self that immediate hit of pleasure, but it's tied directly to doing the beneficial task.
Okay, that's clever. Bribing your present self to help your future self. What else works?
Breaking things down into small, easy increments. Writing a whole book. Terrifying. Writing one 100-word paragraph. Totally doable.
Lowers the bar to entry.
Massively. Inertia is the big wall. Tiny steps dismantle it. Start with the easiest bits to build momentum. Oh, and another tip. Try leaving like 5% unfinished at the end of a session. Gives you an easy, obvious starting point next time.
Reduces the friction for the next session.
Smart. Exactly. And finally, you can consider risks. A bit of productive paranoia, borrowing from Gates and Collins. Ask yourself, what's the downside if I don't do this? What opportunity slips away if I delay? Sometimes the fear of negative consequences can light a fire under you.
Use fear constructively, but maybe sparingly.
Definitely sparingly. It's draining, but useful for planning contingencies too.
Okay, tactics aside, our environment plays a huge role too, right? Creating that no distraction zone.
Oh, huge. Minimizing distractions is critical because even tiny interruptions deplete willpower more than we realize. There's a study, people remembering a phone number were more likely to choose cake over fruit afterwards. The mental effort used up their self-control.
Wow, so clear desk, phone face down.
Or phone in another room. Put distracting apps on the last page of your phone screen. Log out of social media. Make it physically harder to get distracted. Increase the friction for unwanted actions.
And flip that around. Make the desired action the easy one.
That's using the default effect. The source gives that striking organ donation example. Countries where you had to opt out had way higher donation rates than opt-in countries. People stick with the default, the path of least resistance.
So make the good choice the default.
Exactly. Want to practice violin? Leave it out where you see it. Want to eat healthier? Hide the junk food. Put fruit in a bowl on the counter. Make healthy choices effortless.
If I want to read more, leave the book on my pillow.
Perfect. Another environmental factor is attention residue. When you switch tasks, especially different kinds of tasks, part of your brain is still thinking about the last one. It slows you down, makes you less effective.
Like constantly checking email while trying to write something complex.
Classic example. Which leads us to batching.
Grouping similar tasks.
Right. Answer all your emails in one block. Schedule meetings back to back. You stay in the same mental mode, saving cognitive energy. You can even batch distractions. Give yourself 15 minutes for news or social media, then shut it down completely.
I really liked the idea of a don't-do list. Feels counterintuitive, but potentially really freeing.
It's incredibly important, just as vital as a to-do list. You need to identify and consciously decide not to do things that steal your time or focus, but don't move you towards your real goals.
Like what sort of things?
Urgent, but unimportant tasks. Busy work that feels productive but isn't. Things waiting on someone else. Projects that are 90% done and you're just endlessly polishing. Mark them polish later. Writing these down frees up mental bandwidth. Avoid the menu with unavailable items, right?
Yeah, clears the clutter. The source also mentioned the 40-70 rule. What's that?
It's about decision-making and action. Don't act if you have less than 40% of the info you need, you're just guessing. But crucially, don't wait until you have more than 70% of the info.
Why not? Isn't more info better?
Not always. Waiting for 80, 90, 100% often leads to analysis paralysis. You get bogged down in research, the opportunity window closes. Act when you have enough to move forward with reasonable confidence, maybe 50, 60%. Learn the rest as you go. Think of Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice, or that printer example, too much research kills action.
Get enough info to start, then adjust course, okay? And sometimes the best way to follow through is actually to do nothing.
Intentional rest, yes. It's critical mental recovery. Think of athletes needing rest days. Your brain needs downtime too. Burnout isn't just physical, it's mental depletion.
Right.
Taking breaks, relaxing, letting your mind wander, it reduces fatigue, allows those creative alpha waves to kick in, hence shower thoughts, and replenishes your willpower. It's not laziness, it's strategic recovery.
We've covered a lot: tactics, mindsets, environment. Are there any other really common deadly pitfalls we should be aware of?
Yes, a few cognitive traps that often trip people up. One is false hope syndrome. Remember Michael expecting his freelance business to instantly make him rich and solve all problems?
Yeah, unrealistic expectation.
Exactly. Overestimating how much you can change or how fast. When reality inevitably doesn't match that inflated hope, the disappointment is crushing and often leads to quitting. Goals can be ambitious, sure, but your expectations for the process of change need to be grounded in reality in your own history.
Okay, manage expectations about the journey. What else?
Overthinking. We touched on this with analysis paralysis. Endlessly researching, weighing options. It feels like progress, but it kills action. Gary Schwartz's work is key here. Too many choices paralyzes. The printer wall again.
So the fix is?
Focus on the few things that really matter. Limit your options deliberately. Embrace good enough sometimes. Most decisions are reversible. Starting imperfectly is way better than not starting at all.
Escape the quicksand of endless options.
Precisely. And related to that is worry. Constantly ruminating on problems, real or imagined, especially things you can't control: the past, the distant future. Worry steals your focus from the present, from what you can actually do now.
Mark Twain's quote.
Worrying is like paying a debt you don't owe. You suffer twice, often for something that never happens. It's wasted mental energy. Pure friction.
And the last pitfall.
Failing to know thyself. Not understanding your own optimal conditions. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Like Michael, trying to force early mornings. Do you work best in silence or with cafe buzz? Don't try to fit someone else's productivity mold.
Work with your natural rhythms.
Yes, and knowing thyself also means playing detective when you do fail. Diagnose the why. Was it discouragement? Overwhelm. Using the wrong strategy. Fear. Identify the root cause so you can apply the right fix next time. Failure is only useful data if you understand what caused it.
So it's less about brute force willpower and more about self-awareness and building smarter systems.
Absolutely. Relying only on willpower is setting yourself up for failure. Willpower is finite. It runs out, especially under stress. Remember Ned's freelance firm collapsing under the weight of it all?
Yeah, burnout city.
Building daily systems is the antidote. These are consistent, regular actions that streamline progress without needing that constant push of willpower. Goals are the destination. Systems are the reliable vehicle that gets you there day in, day out, even on bad days. Systems carry you through goal after goal. Ned needed systems, not just more willpower.
Okay, so what do these systems look like in practice?
Well, keep a scoreboard. Track your progress visually. Checklists, a whiteboard, an app. We're wired to like winning, to see progress. Celebrate the small wins along the way. It builds momentum. Set big rewards for milestones too. Make progress tangible.
Gamify it a bit.
Sort of, yeah. Have a time management system. A routine helps you know what to do when.
Right.
Figure out how long tasks really take. Maybe time yourself. Review your plan daily. Use batching. Minimize distractions within that structure. A good system reduces that feeling of chaos. Lower transaction costs. Make desired actions easier and undesired actions harder. Reduce the effort, physical, mental, emotional, for good habits. Increase it for bad ones. Put your running shoes by the door. Put the cookies on the top shelf. Make the good choice the path of least resistance. Manipulate that cost-benefit analysis in your favor, constantly.
Engineer your environment for success.
Exactly. And gather information first. Before starting something complex, get all your ducks in a row. Resources, tools, info, like planning a trip or getting all the groceries in one go. It prevents those momentum-killing interruptions. Clarify who does what success looks like, set real deadlines, anticipate obstacles. Don't be Ned just jumping in blind.
This is incredibly comprehensive, a whole toolkit.
It really is. And the core message is that following through isn't some superpower only a few people have. It's a skill you build.
Right.
By understanding your personal blockers, mastering these practical strategies, the manifesto, the environment tweaks, the systems, cultivating the right mindsets, and then just consistently applying them.
It sounds like it's about making things easier, more automatic, aligning what you do now with what your future self actually wants.
Precisely. The goal isn't just finishing this one thing, but building the capacity to finish whatever you start, to actually create the life you intend, instead of just having good intentions.
Which brings us to a final thought. We often think having endless options equals freedom, right? But as we've discussed with overthinking and analysis paralysis, maybe having too much choice is actually a huge barrier to taking any action.
That's interesting.
How much of our failure to finish things comes not from a lack of possibilities, but maybe from being completely overwhelmed by them? Something to chew on.
Thanks for joining us in this episode of Deep Dialogues.
If this conversation sparked a thought, a question, or even just a pause, then it did its job.
Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us thought in the comments.
Until next time.
Stay curious, stay thoughtful, stay in sync.